Hey, folks. Welcome to the third Thursday online hangout for the Reformation Gun Club, September 19th, 2019. Glad you could be here. Hoping some folks will join us here shortly. We have some, a lot has happened since last we got together. A lot in the gun world. And hopefully once we get some more folks in here, we will get started discussing it. Thought we would talk about a few things. Obviously, gun control is huge in the news right now. And since the El Paso and Odessa shootings, a lot going on, and unfortunately a lot moving in the wrong direction. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about this. Speaking of wrong directions, we'll talk a little bit about the newest background check proposals being floated by the Department of Justice to the White House. And we'll talk about San Francisco's declaration of the NRA as a terrorist group, and get everybody's thoughts on the little meeting between Ted Cruz and Alyssa Milano. So obviously lots and lots has happened since we were together last, and we will discuss some of that. There's Dan. Hi, Dan. Welcome. Pastor Bennett is going to be here momentarily, waiting for the good pastor to get his audio set up. We had two and one left. Maybe it was the pastor. And I've sent out invitations as well to some of the top tier members of the Reformation Gun Club. If they don't join in, then I will open it up to whoever else wants to join. Probably here in another 10 minutes. Once we get the pastor in here and get rolling. Let's see. Where are my notes? So we've got a lot to discuss. And I don't really want to dig into it until I get the pastor. One thing I want to mention. Coming up this weekend, episode 187, I think. 187 is going to be another of our variety shows. So we'll have tips from the cast, and it'll be our typical variety show. And then coming up the week after is going to be our 5th Sunday special with a guest. And I'm still working to line that up. I have a couple of possibilities, but it's going to be somebody special. So look forward to that. Hope everybody is doing well. It's been a great week. Well, it's been a busy week. My daughter started confirmation this past week. This is just getting in her. The variety shows rock. Thank you, Dan. Yes, they do. I love our cast. They really do a great job, and I'm blessed to have good people who help me out with the show every week. Well, every other week. Let's see. Who else have we got in here? I know we got 2 people, 2 live viewers. Who are you? Who is our second live viewer? Hey, Jeremy Saylor is. Well, there's Jeremy Saylor's napkin. Hello, Jeremy. How are you?
Good.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Welcome to our line hangout. Pastor Bennett will be here with us momentarily. Dan Velt is with us. And I'll probably be throwing him the link here shortly, depending on who else turns up. We're using the free version of StreamYard at the moment, just sort of working out the kinks and seeing if it works well for us. And we have a limited number of seats. But if this works out as well as I think it's going to, it seems to be doing pretty well. We will we'll get a pro version and get more people in here. I have not heard whether Mia is going to be joining us. Let me check my messages real quick. I got one from, Mia sent me a message. She's going to have to watch the replay. Oh, darn it. John will be here momentarily, Pastor Bennett. All right. There's the pistol packing Padre. Oh, and he's not in the dark this time. Holy cow. Awesome.
Now you all see my ugly mug. Hey, Jeremy.
There's no hiding anymore. Well, all right. Since let's see here. Since Mia is not going to be able to make it, let me get over here to the comments. Dan is with us. Ooh, hey, Dan, my armed Lutheran can cooler. Good of you not to call it a koozie. We'll get in big trouble if we do. I got a cease and desist order from some lawyer claiming that can koozie is a copyrighted or trademark name, and I couldn't use it anymore.
Was it from some goofball in Minnesota? Because that sounds like someone in Minnesota would do that.
I don't remember. He was
my brother-in-law used to make canned koozies for a local business here. So yeah,
he was dead serious. I was like, you can't be serious about this. Everybody sells canned koozies. He's like, no, it's a trademark. Here, I'll show you the proof. He sent me we order you to cease and desist or we're going to shut you down. I was like, oh, come on. Okay, so
that's like the right infringement because somebody was, he claimed that he had trademarked the goatee or something like that.
I don't know. Yeah. All right, let me see here. Let me send a message to Dan here. There he is. And we'll do first come, first serve. Anybody else who wants to join in here, we'll throw it open. I don't think Bill is going to be able to make it. I think Mia is. I got a message from Mia, said she's not going to be able to. And I will send out an invite for everyone who would like to join in. Dan is with us, so I'm going to send Dan an invite here. Get to watch me noodle around with my computer like I know what I'm doing, which I don't. I'm still trying to work out running 2 or 3 things at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to send Dan a message. And there is our link. Dan, if you would like to join in. And another person who would be interested, so I will send it to them as well. Whoops. I don't want to create a whole new post. I just want to send a message. Thank you. So what before everybody was here, what I thought I would, I kind of outlined what it is I thought we would discuss. And I don't know why I keep getting, hang on a second. That's why I keep clicking the wrong button. All right. Perfect. Now.
Here to explain it to you, right?
Yeah. Okay. Now, what I thought we would talk about, or I just sort of outlined some topics. The first one I wanted to get to and get everybody's take on was, of course, Walmart's gun ban. And we've seen since the shooting in Odessa, the shooting in El Paso, we've seen Walmart and a number of other retailers coming out and trying to get my camera in the right place. Get my ugly face in the middle. There we go. That's more like it. To get, look, we've got an evolution of beards, me and then Jeremy, and then yours at the extreme. So we've seen Walmart first, and then Kroger and some others come out and say, we're not going to sell guns in our stores anymore. in the case of Walmart, we're not going to, and Walmart started it with this, please don't bring your, openly carry a firearm in our stores. Kroger and some others have followed suit. What are your guys' thoughts on that, and how we as the Second Amendment community should respond?
For myself, as much as I hate to say it, I'm a cheapskate, so I'm still going to shop at Walmart. Walmart's free to do what they want to do. They are a corporation. They're free to make these decisions, and people are free to boycott them. My issue with Walmart making this decision is how much of this was inspired because of the chuckleheads you see walking around in Walmart open carrying. Prime example, that guy just days after that shooting in El Paso walked into a Walmart with his unloaded AR to see if they would respect his gun rights.
Yeah.
And
and we had a kid in Texas do that as well, with an airsoft rifle. It's like, you're not helping.
No, and it's actually really stupid, because if you get, some guy who, some police officer who responds who's a little bit nervous, you might get shot.
You get a John Crawford situation. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, I'm not as concerned about I'm not as concerned about them saying, what bothers me, I guess, a little bit is the response of the pro-gun community has been to use the word ban and to suggest that a lot of these stores are banning guns and they're suddenly anti-gun, and they haven't changed their policies. They're simply asking people not to carry. And
not to
openly carry. Exactly. Thank you. And I got into some sort of, shall we say, not so pleasant conversation with local open carry Texas folks who were encouraging people to rally at their local Walmart in El Paso and carry their rifles, their AR-15s, into Walmart.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't get it through this chucklehead's thick skull that you're not helping us. You're making things worse. This is the kind of thing that people, when people see gun culture, when they hear about people carrying guns, they think of that. And they don't think of people like you and me and Jeremy and others who are quietly concealed carrying, exercising our rights for self-defense, and not making it a fashion statement or trying to make a political point every time we go out with our gun.
Yeah, it's not as big of an issue in Minnesota like it is in Texas, because you can open carry a pistol if you have a right to carry permit. They call it right to carry permit in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. So if you want to, if you've got a holster big enough to carry your AR-15 pistol, technically you could. Is it a good idea? No. And this was 2-3 years ago or so, where you had people and this was in Texas. So thanks Texans. Not everything good comes out of Texas. You had, these guys that would stand on street corners with their AR-15. Remember seeing a picture of some guy with, AR-15 slung over the shoulder, carrying a child waiting for his coffee at Starbucks.
Yep.
And people see these pictures and they don't say, oh, hey, those guys have the right idea about the Second Amendment. They say, what the heck is wrong with you? And the problem is that, again, that's something that's maybe more to the culture and the gun culture in Texas. But yeah, you're not helping, because when people see this, they associate this with the rest of the pro-Second Amendment community.
Yeah, it's everything. They say everything's bigger in Texas, including the stupid.
Sometimes they try to give Florida a run for their money. Sometimes.
Yeah. Here's Dan's take. They asked folks not to open carry. They're a private entity. They can do that, of course. I carry concealed all the time, every day. I will honor, and I will too. I agree. I think, and that's the response that we should be taking. Look, it's a private company. It's their decision. What I might, and I have no problem with that. And everyone, I'm not crazy about it, but I don't like open carry. I don't think it's smart. But they're not prohibiting me from carrying. But if we push things, they will. And that was the point I was trying to get to the open carry Texas people was, look, if you keep pushing you keep poking the bear, and the next thing they're going to do is they're going to change the store policy. Hello, Mrs. Jeremy Sailor person.
That'd be Melissa.
It's good to have you guys here.
One thing that's worth mentioning too is that where I take issue with Walmart's decision is more from the perspective that their action, it is perceived as giving in to the gun control community. And it just emboldens the anti-Second Amendment advocates out there to continue their efforts to try and take away our Second Amendment rights.
Our good friend Jim Martin is with us.
Hello.
Let's see if we can
another construction worker with us today, huh?
We can get his camera going. I don't know why. I can see him in the thumbnail. I can't see. Why can I not see him? Let's try this. I'm going to remove you from the stream and then punch you back in here, Jim, and see if we can't. That's interesting. I don't know whether your camera froze up. I can hear you.
Okay.
I can't see you. Good to have you here. We were just, in case you missed the early part of it, we were talking about Walmart and the stores that have sort of followed suit with their request that customers not carry in their stores or not open carry in their stores. Where I think there's Jim. I think where where I draw a distinction between these different companies is Walmart. They're perfectly within their rights to do what they've done, but what bothers me about Walmart is if you look at their policies page, go to their website and look at their company policies and then click on the link that takes you to firearms. And they proudly announce that they are a charter member of Everytown for Gun Safety's Responsible Businesses Coalition.
Oh, gosh.
So that's a little bit different than Kroger saying, please don't open carry in my store. I'll still go get my groceries at Kroger's. I'm not going back to Walmart. And, if you're going to align yourself with the people, it's one thing if I understand if you don't want people walking around open carrying in your store, I'm fine with that. But if you're then going to align yourself with the people who want to take away my right even to conceal carry, even to own a firearm for self-defense, then I'm not going to send you my money anymore, period. Thoughts? I'm not that big a cheapskate. I'll go to Dollar General.
Well, you're not living on a pastor's salary, so
It's a good point.
I wasn't align themselves with Everytown.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm looking on their website right now.
Let me find my email because I sent myself the link so I could share it with you guys. So I can put it on the screen.
Yeah, I click on hunting.
Yes, corporate policies.
Oh, it's Walmart. Corporate policies. I see. I'm looking.
Corporate.walmart.com/policies. And see if I can find that, and I will share it so you can all see it.
But, this does not surprise me because going back, this is probably 12, 13 years ago, Walmart is also a member of the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah. Well,
And so they've aligned themselves with leftist art for quite a while now.
yep. Old man Walton, I don't think would be crazy.
No, he probably kicked them square in the cojones, but
Yeah. Now, let me see if I can share this, and we will switch over here. No, let me put that in a different screen. Hang on. Otherwise, I'm just going to rip a hole in the space-time continuum, and it'll show you guys to yourself, and then the whole thing will freak out. All right, so let me try this.
I see what you're talking about. It's right there. Yep.
So we'll go back. That didn't work. It says, and I'll just read it. It'll be easier that way.
I'll post the screenshot right there in the on the Reformation Gun Club.
Perfect. If you go to corporate.walmart.com/policies and you scroll down, on the left-hand side has a column with links to all of their policies on different things. And it's animal welfare and conflict minerals and cage-free egg supply and deforestation and fur-friendly and global anti-corruption. And you scroll down about halfway and you get to firearms and ammunition guidelines. And it says, we have a long heritage as a company of serving hunters and sportsmen and women. Our focus has always been to do so responsibly, including taking many measures that go beyond what's required by law. Then they go and list all the things that they won't sell to you. And then about halfway through, it says, Walmart takes steps above and beyond what is required to sell firearms in a responsible way, including videotaping the point of sale of firearms, allowing only select associates who have passed a criminal background check to sell firearms. All this is fine. And then a couple of paragraphs later, it says, Walmart is a charter member of the Responsible Firearms Retailer Partnership organized by Walmart and Everytown for Gun Safety. So they worked with Everytown to organize this. It's not just it's even worse. It's not that they joined something that Everytown already had going. They worked with Everytown to create it. So let's see.
That explains why most of the firearms they sell to begin with are I would never consider buying a firearm from Walmart because anything they might have that I might be remotely interested in, I can get for cheaper somewhere else.
Right, and
but
at the same
thing
time,
is the ammunition sales.
Right, ammunition's the big thing. I mean, who buys their guns from Walmart? Seriously, I mean, you're not going to get a very good selection. You're not going to get very good. I mean, you're going to get crappy prices. Buy local. Go to your local gun shop. I don't know anybody who buys very many guns from Walmart. So part of this is virtue signaling on both sides. I mean, everybody who's getting all bent out of shape that, oh my gosh, they're not going to sell guns anymore. Well, come on. Did you really go and buy a whole lot of guns from Walmart before? I mean, seriously, what are you complaining? Is this really going to curtail your ability to buy guns? No. So take your business elsewhere. That's what I was trying to get through to the open carry people. But so they're not really a major gun retailer. And if you think about it, Hornady stopped doing business with Walmart. They recognized this 12 years ago. They wrote an article, or they wrote an op-ed in Recoil magazine about why they stopped doing business with Walmart 12 years ago, because they didn't think that Walmart was supportive of their business and the Second Amendment. So I don't know. I mean, it's like I told the guys, the open carry Texas people who now hate me, it's mutual. It's okay.
That's like being hated by the Pharisees. It's no big deal.
Right. I mean, I'm not going to lose a whole lot of sleep over it. I only wrote a bunch of articles in the pre-podcast days, I wrote articles talking about how they were basically the Barney Fife of the gun world. Not fans of their work. And I basically told them, look, I don't like your tactics. I don't like what you're trying to do. I don't like how it affects everybody else. I don't know what it's like in other states, but I know in Texas, the fight to get open carry cost us lots of places where we could carry legally concealed prior to the passage of that law. Now, what the law here required, in Texas, what is required is what's called a 30-06 declaration, a sign posted conspicuously in a specific wording, specific letter size, specific font outside your place of business saying you are not allowed to carry concealed here pursuant to section 30-06 of the state code. So what the new law required was a 30-07 sign. They didn't say, well, we're just going to change the wording and make it one sign. They said, nope. If you want to prohibit people from carrying openly in your stores, then you have to post the 30-07. Well, guess what happened? A lot of the places that didn't want open carry, when they put up the 30-07, they now thought about guns when they hadn't thought about it before. So they put up the 30-06 as well. And when I first moved here 6 years ago, there was like one place that I ran across, one place that had prohibited people with a valid 30-06 sign. Now they're everywhere. And I've seen exactly one person open carrying since the law was passed. So I'm not sure who that helped. And I couldn't get that through their heads. I was like, you've cost us more places. You have done more to make it difficult for me as a legal concealed carry permit holder. You've made it harder for me to exercise my rights than any Democrat here in Texas has. Well, they didn't like that, but it's true. It's kind of being a little inflammatory, but it's true. So it's yeah. So I'm not so worried about the places that say, please don't openly carry your firearms, because all they're worrying about is the guys with the guns that, showed up at, what was it? Was it the coffee place? Starbucks, when they did that, yeah. Remember, their owner declared, hello, there is Mrs. Martin, I think. I'm going to make generalizations and assumptions here so as not to get Jim in trouble.
So, that's definitely Mrs. Martin.
Awesome. Welcome. Glad to have you here.
I didn't realize he was live, and he's like, shh. I'm like, what?
It's family night, and I like it. So I'm not worried. Like when Starbucks and everybody went crazy about Starbucks saying, please don't bring don't openly carry in our stores. And then everybody decided, hey, guess what? We're just going to have a rally at our nearest Starbucks and, pose for pictures with our latte and our AR-15 like a bunch of yahoos. It's just not helping. So what's next on the agenda here? I had something else. And did anybody see the background check proposal that is now being floated by the Department of Justice for the White House to consider?
I had seen something where they were going to make some sort of like a smartphone app where you can do the background check for private person-to-person sales.
Yeah, which I think is not a bad idea at all. Let's see. Somebody got a hold of this. Breitbart, I think, and Fox News got a hold of this, and this was just sort of a list of bullet points of suggestions for ways we could move forward. Because, of course, background check is the big thing that all the Democrats want, well, except for Beto. Beto wants to take everything right off the bat. Everybody else is thinking incrementally like good communists. Let's see here. What does this thing say? So this is a broad outline of ideas for new unlicensed commercial sale background checks. And this has been presented to the president. And it says, consistent with Manchin Toomey draft legislation, a background check requirement would be extended to all advertised commercial sales, including sales at gun shows. That's worded weird. Background checks would be conducted either through an FFL or a newly created class of licensed transfer agents. Licensed transfer agents would not carry firearm inventory, but would be authorized by the ATF to initiate background checks. A commercial seller who is not a licensed dealer and does not want an FFL or transfer agent to retain a Form 4473 could go to an FFL or transfer agent to conduct the background check. It's requiring bill of sale and all these forms that you would have to fill out. And background checks would be conducted based on the same information from the 4473. If a denial occurs, a referral will be made to law enforcement. If the transaction proceeds, a new form 4470 something will then be generated and sent to the seller, which you would have the buyer sign, I guess, and would be required to keep for your records. Sellers could retain those records on their own, but many would be expected to choose to voluntarily have the FFL or transfer agent store the records, blah, blah, blah. And then some civil penalties for failure to comply. It sounds like to me that the DOJ or elements within the Trump administration are looking for ways to sort of soft sell a compromise with Democrats.
Here's the question. If they do the background check and it comes back as a denial and it's reported to law enforcement, what if the person's an illegal immigrant? Is that going to get the Democrats to sink it?
Right. Well, that's the next thing. As part of the debate in the House, wasn't there a proposal to subject the gang database to red flag laws? And the Democrats...
Oh, you can't do that. That's racist.
Didn't like that at all. Yep. Oh, hey, we got a note. Hi, Mrs. Martin. You're famous now. And let's see what else Dan has posted for us. Yep, all gun laws are an infringement. That seems to be the common response. And I don't know. Did anybody watch the Cruz Milano debate thing, confrontation, whatever you want to call it?
Did they ever debate?
Yes, Cruz had.
They did.
Yeah, okay. Alyssa Milano, and she brought one of the Parkland parents. I can't remember his name. He is a jackwagon. I will say that he was a finger-wagging, arrogant a-hole the whole time. But Cruz and Milano were very respectful to each other. It was, I thought, a very productive conversation because Cruz was able to lay out exactly why we oppose the ideas that they suggest and make it clear to them, look, we want to stop these things as much as you do. And two of them, well, actually all three, it was 3-on-1, 3 anti-gunners and Ted Cruz. And Cruz just kept answering every suggestion, every complaint, everything that they threw at him. He answered with statistics and with logic, and Milano kept coming up with, we got to protect the children, and shouldn't we try, and you need to be a leader, and I just wanted to look you in the eyes and make sure and see that you were an actual human being and not a monster, which I thought was just like right off the bat. So the left has this caricature of what we are, which is, and we see it all the time, that we're monsters. We don't care about kids. And Cruz was I think successful in making the case that we all want to see these things stop, but we just have different ways. We have different ideas about how to get there. Milano and the other two did not know anything about his bill. Grassley Cruz, I think, they brought it up during the debate after Newtown when Manchin Toomey got shot down, and Democrats weren't happy because they couldn't get a gun ban and they couldn't get the Manchin Toomey thing passed. And when Grassley Cruz came up, they shot it down out of spite. And basically, it was an improvement on the NICS system, and it was, prosecuting people who actually commit these crimes when they know they shouldn't be trying to buy a gun, and they do it anyway. The statistic I think I heard this week was the last time these stats were kept was 2010. And something like 72,000 people were denied, and only 13 were prosecuted. No, 40 something were prosecuted, 13 were convicted out of 72,000.
So here's the question. Did they not allow this bill to go forward out of spite?
Yep.
Or was it because they wanted to keep Republicans from having a victory on anything regarding the Second Amendment?
I think it was a little of both. You didn't give us what we want. We're not going to give you what we want. We're going to take our ball and go home. And it got 9 Democrat votes, but it wasn't enough to get to 60 at the time. That was when the Senate was run by the Democrats. And Milano and her two cohorts there had never heard of it, didn't know anything about it. And in fact, when they heard what he was explaining to them was in it, they said, well, we'll go and talk to the Democrats and say, you got to pass this. Send us a copy of the bill. So I think despite some of the annoying parts of it, there were parts I wanted to just reach through the screen and like grab them and shake them. But Cruz handled them great, and in the end, I think Milano wrote something where she, said very positive things about Ted Cruz, which was surprising. They chastised him for some of his tweets as being not helpful in the debate, and I wanted to just say, well, have you seen your tweets? I mean, come on. This is kind of like the pot calling the kettle black,
right?
Wow. So it was an interesting debate, and it's the kind of thing we need to have more of, because both sides get in their corners and shout at each other, and nothing really gets fixed. And there are things that could be done. About early. Oh, okay. Gotcha. So Pastor needs to head out a little bit early. That's okay. I hate that. You're the life of the party. What are you drinking tonight?
My usual Cuddy Sark.
Nice. I'm going to need coffee. Boring.
Coffee.
Thoughts on the San Francisco thing with the NRA? Anybody got any thoughts on that? The San Francisco Board of, it was sort of like the city council, I guess. They passed a resolution that declared the NRA a domestic terrorist organization. Did everybody hear this?
It's just more evidence that anything coming out of the San Francisco Bay Area is completely nuts.
Yeah, and it
I mean, this is the city that has a map that you can go to avoid places where people have defecated in public.
I know you were going there.
And the NRA are the bad guys?
Yeah. You can't have plastic straws, but you can have needles, and you can poop on the street, but don't be an NRA member.
That's a plus. If you're ever in San Francisco and you can't find a bathroom, hey, all the homeless people do it, so why not?
All the world's a toilet.
Well, folks, I've got to get going, so a blessed night to you all.
All right. We will be looking forward to hearing what you got for us on Sunday. Have a great evening, and we'll talk to you later.
You too. Just for fun, I'll show you real quick my redneck microphone stand solution while I'm recording over at church. So there you go.
That's actually pretty. That's actually not bad. That's pretty ingenious.
Cost me absolutely nothing.
Right.
The audio installer approved.
All right, we'll see you all later. You have a good evening.
Have a great
What's
night.
that?
Said the audio installer approves.
All right, you all have a good evening.
All right. Let's see here. I was trying to get Dan in here. Dan's been sending us comments. Let's see. Let me send you a message here, Dan. So anybody got any thoughts on what's going wrong with the NRA currently? We have, I mean, if anything, this whole gun debate is actually strengthening things with the NRA, despite what they're going through financially, and it's kind of like rats leaving the sinking ship, and them blocking people out of their meetings. I know they moved their board meetings at the last minute from Alaska to Washington, D.C., and then people showed up to talk about some of the financial things going on, and they wouldn't let them come into the meeting. They just they immediately went to executive session, and that was that. Any thoughts on that situation? Are some people are saying, well, we need to rally around the NRA because they're the big dog, and there are others who are saying, well, we need to get this stuff, or get our house in order, and we need to have a stronger, cleaner, NRA. And both sides are sort of bickering, and it's sort of like the whole gun debate boiled down just around the NRA, and we're not actually getting anything fixed. Any thoughts? Let me see if I can get Dan in here. Where's Dan? New message. Dan. Where are you, Dan? Send you a. Ooh, that's that link won't help. I was just about to send you the Walmart corporate policies link. That won't be useful. That's what's stuck in my clipboard at the moment. All right, let me see here. We'll see if we can get Dan in here. I know Pastor Mize was wanting to join us as well. I don't know where he went. He was all gangbusters to be here. There he is. Is he online? I don't think he is. He said he was going to join us, and then something must have come up. You would think, those pastors, they only work one day a week. You think they have more free time. I mean, I have something really cool coming up. And I've gotten most of the submissions while we're waiting here to see if anybody else joins us. Let's see. Getting back to the NRA thing. Here's a comment from Dan. The NRA needs to revisit what their goals are. The goals should be to support us. I agree entirely. And I think the idea that we need to just sort of sweep everything under the rug and rally around and circle the wagons because right now is a difficult time, or that those who are complaining about some of the financial mismanagement going on at the NRA, that those people are somehow, colluding with Democrats to make things worse is wrong. I think you're right. We need the NRA to get away from the sort of identity politics. One of the things that bothered me this year about the NRA was how they aligned themselves so closely with Trump. And it felt like, especially the stuff that Ackerman McQueen was doing with NRA TV, felt a lot like they were the media arm of the Trump administration. You get this copy of America's First Freedom, and there's Dan. Hello, Dan. I'll get that comment off the screen so we can actually see your face. I was just responding to your thought there. I think for those of you who are members, do you get the America's First Freedom magazine every month as part of your membership? I know they do 2 or 3 magazines. I can't remember. But there was one that they sent out like early on after Trump was elected, and it said, "Do you stand with President Trump?" And I thought and this was not long after. I think this was actually I don't remember whether it was before or after the bump stock ban, but we hadn't moved forward with concealed carry reciprocity, and we hadn't gotten some of the things that people were saying. Oh, it's going to be going now. Hey, I like it. It's not a can koozie. It's an awesome can cooler. There, I've made my legal obligations. I felt like the NRA had gotten, like you said, Dan, had kind of gotten away from the core message, which was we got defending the Second Amendment for everyone, and not just for white conservative Trump voters. I went to the gun rights policy conference here in Dallas. There's a new, the latest one is this weekend in Phoenix. And one of the things that on the second day we talked a lot about was how do we branch out? How do we spread this message that the 2A is for everybody? How do we get that message to the inner cities and to minority communities? And we had voices come in, people like Maj Touré and people like Rick Ector and Shanine Allen, who spoke about this, and Marcus Weldon, who you've heard on the show. But I never saw any movement on that after that meeting. And there were members, high-ranking members of the NRA who were there. And I never saw, and I have still not seen a great deal of movement on that. It's all been sort of that identity politics thing where it's us versus them and send us your money. Right? And I found out that when you would get a phone call asking you for money, every penny of that was going to Ackerman McQueen. Not a dollar of it was going to the NRA. They had a deal with the NRA where they got to keep the money from the fundraising to help pay for the propaganda stuff they were doing for the NRA, the publications and the NRA TV and all of that. And we got to clean house and straighten everything up because I think the NRA is getting ready to get their butts sued off by a couple of different states.
I think you're right.
And if we don't get that squared away, we're never going to spread that message. I mean, and LaPierre's face is like the face of evil to most people who don't like the NRA. It's a crying shame that there's 100 million gun owners in America and only 5%. It's kind of like Texas. There's only 5% of gun owners who are members of the NRA. And that's shocking. Why aren't more gun owners members of the NRA? And I say it's kind of like Texas because, people assume that here in Texas, everybody carries a gun. Only 5% of Texans have a carry permit. Right? It's one of the lowest by percentage. It's one of the lowest in the country. A total number is probably very high, but the response to like El Paso, a lot of people were saying, well, it's Texas. There should have been, why didn't all those good guys with guns in Texas, why didn't they all shoot back? Well, if only 5% of people in the state have a permit, how many of them you think were at Walmart that day? Not very many.
And how many carry without a permit?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It just, that brings up something I hadn't thought to talk about tonight, but I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on it. I had someone back in the pre-podcast days sent me a question about, do you really think it's necessary to carry a gun everywhere? I mean, is it right? I agree with you, but they were trying to convince themselves and maybe a wife that we need to carry, that they lived in a safe community and everything was quiet and they didn't see crime all the time. And, so they felt like, well, do you really need to carry all the time? Well, right here in our little tiny community, I live in North Texas, about 50 minutes north of Dallas. So we are way out in the sticks, away from, it's growing, but we're way away from the crime that happens in places like North Dallas or Houston or Mesquite, which is over in the eastern part of the state, or on the east side of McKinney, which is about 40 minutes about 20 minutes to the east of us. I'm trying to do the northeast southwest thing. And our pastor lives on this side of McKinney, nice neighborhood, really safe place, very family oriented, very family friendly. They were at a ball game the other night and there was a shooting. And it's like 15 minutes from my house. And he was videotaping his son was at bat. And some kid about 30 yards away was meeting some other, I would assume, gang members. He's 17 and somehow had a gun. And the shot sounded like it was like right behind you. If you've been to a range and accidentally not had your hearing protection in when they start shooting, it sounded like that. It sounded like it was right behind the bleachers. Everybody hits the deck. Everybody starts running. It can happen anywhere. What do you guys think about that? This is not something that we saw when we were growing up. We could take guns to school. You could buy guns through mail order when I was a kid.
We hung them in the back window of our trucks.
Right. The kids would go on the weekend with their parents hunting, and the guns would still be in the back of the truck when they go to school on Monday. And nobody ever thought of shooting people up in going to their school and shooting their classmates or we didn't have
nobody thought of it as being odd.
Right.
It was normal. It was something that all of us did.
Yep. And now you see it today and people freak out over it. Just like, what changed here? I just don't, what changed is, and what strikes me is, the argument is always, well, guns are more deadly than ever before. They're really not.
No, they're the same as they've been for 100 years.
100 years. And that hunting rifle you probably had in your truck was probably more powerful than an AR-15.
Well, the hunting rifle that is my favorite is a lot more powerful than a little AR-15.
Right. So, I don't know. I don't know. I think the more this country has embrace sort of this secular idea that do your own thing and we don't need, we're not a Christian country and all of that nonsense. And family can be whatever you want it to be. And so we don't have the emphasis on, parents in the home. And, I think
the do your own thing, I agree with that. I think all of us should be able to do our own thing.
Right.
Absolutely. But, I carry a gun, at least one, every day, all the time, everywhere that I am. And nobody knows it. It's none of their business. And I've never had to pull my firearm to defend myself. I will if I have to. But if you're standing next to me, you're going to be fairly happy that I'm there standing next to you.
Right. But you'll never know it unless something really bad happens.
Right.
It's sort of like the fire extinguisher analogy that we've used before,
Exactly.
I hope I never have to use that thing, but I'm sure as heck going to have one in the house.
Oh, yeah, a couple of them.
Or, yeah.
All over the place.
I do that with guns too.
Yes.
So what do you think about this, about the idea that there are safe places. I've heard people say, well, I only carry my gun when, I try to tell people carry every day, right? Wherever you go, carry all the time. And I've heard people answer me and say, well, I only carry when I'm going to a bad neighborhood. If you know it's a bad neighborhood, why are you going there?
Good point. Good point. Now, I had a conversation with someone recently about carrying at home. Do you carry a gun at home? Absolutely, I do. When I wake up in the morning, I grab my gun in the holster and I carry it around, because really, if I was to sit and think about it, the chances of something happening is in my home. Mm-hmm. Someone blasting in the door, someone running. Likely? No. It's very unlikely someone's going to rob me at a 7-Eleven also. But at home, I think, is the best chance that it's going to happen. So you betcha I carry a gun at home all the time.
100% of home invasions happen at home.
I like that.
So, yeah. And my wife has asked me that question in the past, why are you carrying why are you still carrying your gun? We're at home. I was like, yeah, but home invasions happen when you're at home. That's why I'm carrying it. I don't want to have to go to the safe if I don't have to, especially like I'll sit outside in the evening, enjoy the evening air, smoke a pipe, have my coffee. And to do that, the door's unlocked. I'm carrying. I don't know what's going on around the house. I don't have time if something like that happens, or if I'm working out in the backyard.
Or the opportunity.
Right. I don't have the time or the opportunity to go run and punch in the numbers in the safe and get the gun out and then figure out what's happening. So, yeah, I count.
And my beautiful wife notices when I'm not carrying.
There you go.
Why don't you have a gun on you?
What's wrong with you? Something's wrong. You're not feeling good, right?
Yeah.
That's great. I like it. What have you guys done recently, just to kind of get to know you guys a little bit? What have you guys done? What's your background and experience with guns? How were you introduced to them? And this is a question I ask on my other podcast to all of my guests. How did you get started with guns? What was your introduction to guns, and what was your introduction to concealed carry and handguns?
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Just hunting, mainly hunting. And then in my line of work, sometimes I go into foreclosed homes, and you never know, somebody, lurking in the corner or something. So being a plumber, I don't carry while I'm on the job. Mm-hmm. But if I go into a foreclosed home or an abandoned house, I'll strap on.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't blame you at all there.
A lot of undesirables in our community. Well, not my community. I mean, we're in the center. We have 300 people.
Right. You're in one of those where everyone knows your name kind of situation.
Yeah.
Well, how did you get introduced?
I fly a big Second Amendment flag at my house, so they don't come here. But if I'm working late at night, there is a certain element in Mankato, the bigger town blast. So,
right.
I used to live in Mankato.
I carry in Walmart just because McDonald's you can't carry in either, but
Can't
carry in. Well, the other night there was a big sign up there that said guns not allowed in McDonald's. So
I'll bet there's never any guns in McDonald's.
Probably not. So,
and I carry in church. Pastor said I could.
My pastor insists on it.
Oh, very good. Dan, what part of the country are you living in?
I live in the Seattle area. I live in the city of Enumclaw. Okay.
So talk about I know Washington with, what is it, I-590?
1639.
1639. 534 is Oregon. So what's the culture like for gun ownership and carrying guns in public?
as far as carrying guns, most of the people I know carry. But open carry in my group of friends, if you're coming over to my house and I got the barbecue fired up,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, you better open carry and you better have your coolest holster on.
Yep.
Because that's just the way it works. But a lot of people carry. A lot of people are outspoken about it. But a lot of people just kind of keep to themselves. I actually live in a really good district right now. My representative, I actually shoot IDPA with him.
Nice.
He's a big gun advocate, and he understands why we have guns, and he understands his position in government, and understands that there's a reason for it, and he wholly supports our rights. He's running for governor, so let's see if he'll do that.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, buddy.
How did you get introduced to IDPA? I'm going to start doing a crossover here with my other show.
Yeah, I like your other show.
Thank you.
I actually have had a friend that bugged me to come and shoot IDPA with him, but on the Saturday mornings when they did it, it was usually the Saturday morning that we would have our men's breakfast at church or
Right.
something else going on. And finally, I just said, well, I got to do this because it just looks like too much fun, and went and got hooked. It's
That's
just
all it takes.
and have a really good time on the 28th, 27th, 28th, weekend after this weekend. We've got a match coming up, so
Oh,
looking
nice.
forward to it. We'll see how we do. It's fun. The people in my immediate group of friends, we make annual, sometimes multiple annual trips to Front Sight down in Las Vegas.
Oh, good.
And,
Okay.
and we really enjoy it. And it's this, that, and the other thing, but it's training. And we've gotten a lot out of it.
That's a lot of fun. It definitely is. You ever run across the Russos?
Russos.
Jackie and Joey Russo. Jackie is actually a member
Rings a
of.
bell.
They are both members of Team Armed Lutheran Radio, and they're both. And Jackie is a member of the Gun Club. They shoot
I bet that's where I've
IDPA.
seen her name.
Yeah, and I think they're down in Federal Way,
Oh, right around the corner from me.
right around the corner. So,
So we probably shoot at some of the same ranges.
probably do. They travel around a bit. They shoot the Washington State every year. They shoot the Western in Northern California just recently. They come down to Texas a couple of times a year and
Excellent.
bunk in with Sergeant Bill and and shoot our state match. And there's a couple of other. I think they're going to Worlds this year, so I think they and Sergeant Bill are going. I'm not going to get to go. I got invited and then disinvited. They sent out how you get into the national and the world matches is based on how many matches you shoot in the previous year.
Okay.
And the different kinds of matches are worth a certain number of points.
Right.
So, a tier 2 match the smallest match is worth 1 point, and a big state match like our state match or the Western is worth 3. Those are tier 4 matches. And then in nationals, if you shot in nationals last year, that would be worth 4.
Right.
And I had like 12 points, which is pretty good for an average year, but it's Worlds. It's the World Championship. So they have people coming from overseas, and they've got tons and tons of people from all over the country. Well, the first tier people, they sent out their acceptance letters to and said, okay, you guys are accepted. You're welcome to come in squad. And then like 3 weeks later, I was still waiting to hear. I figured, okay, I'll probably get an invite, but I won't get the best slots. The first come, first serve people get the best choice of, when you get to shoot. And I figured, okay, I'll get an invite. at some point, all those higher tier people will get in, and there'll be a room for us lowly 12-point people. And I got my invite, and I was so excited. I was like, yes, I got into Worlds. Not 30 minutes later, I had just logged into Practice Score to Squad, and I got an email that said, oh, sorry, that was a computer error.
Thanks.
You have not been accepted. Somebody
still a
pushed the
good
wrong
person,
button.
right?
And just, yeah, exactly. Somebody pushed the wrong button and just sent out the invitations to everybody. So people with like 3 points were all stoked. They were like, yes, I got in. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. So then a month after that, when I had already spent whatever money I would have had to, go to Worlds, and because the match fee was like $275, and yeah. And then the only slots available by the time they did actually send me an acceptance letter was like Wednesday, Thursday. So you shoot half the match on one day and then the other half the next. It's like Wednesday night, Thursday morning. And I was like, I'm not going to take time off in the middle of the week and then have to be there all week for So
Nothing.
Nationals next year, maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah, the Russos are right around the corner from you. And if you see the Armed Lutheran, look for the blue Armed Lutheran, Team Armed Lutheran jerseys with the big Luther with his with revolver on it.
If I see the Armed Lutheran logo, I'm gonna approach them.
There you go. There you go. They're good people. Well, guys, thank you for joining us. I think this was fun, and this worked out fairly well. I still have to kind of get used to the controls and figure out what I'm doing with. I need to get another monitor or something so I can navigate multiple screens. It's a little harder when it's all in different tabs. But thank you both.
This once a month thing getting together. Yeah. This is fun.
Yeah, I started doing it a while back, and nobody showed up, so it was kind of fun. Just talking to myself. So I stopped doing it for a while, but now we've got a bigger group and people like yourself, you guys who are more engaged, who now it's a good time to get it started. And I like this software, and I really appreciate you guys for your support and for showing up. And I'm not sure what the date's going to be for the next one. Sometime in, let's see,
third Thursday.
Oh,
that's going to be around Thanksgiving, or just before Halloween.
Yeah. Let's see, October, third Thursday, 17th. So right in the middle of the month, and then November will be the week. Will be the Thursday before Thanksgiving, so we'll still be able to do that one.
And I may be in Minnesota at that time. I may stop in at the Padres Church if I'm there.
There you go. I've always wanted to do that. I went up to the Iowa State match a couple of years ago, and I thought, if I have time, it's only like 2 more hours to Blue Earth.
Yep.
I mean, I could get there right after the match, and it would only take me, driving 16 hours home the next day would be awesome. But I may do it. I may actually do that next year, try and get up, make that trip and come up and just surprise him one Sunday and just walk.
There you go.
I thought that would be fun. So guys, thank you so much. Thank you for your support. And we'll see you again next month on the third Thursday.
Excellent. Have a great week and a great month, folks.
Have a great night.